Blog Talk Radio.
Playing Sports City Chefs from Amazon Music.
Yeah. Woo. Let's go. Y'all need to sit back, listen, enjoy the vibe. Sip something, light it up, enjoy the ride. Cause the Sports City Chefs is on tonight. In the kitchen cooking up, they on the rise. Sports City, Chefs, Chefs. Sports City, Chefs, Chefs. Sports City, Chefs, Chefs. Sports City, Chefs. Yes, Lord, we got a brand new president. Joe Biden, we riding, I pray you heaven sent. Word from the wise, my people stay ahead of. Come on, I've been relevant, trying to survive the elements. It ain't no love in these streets, these dudes telling it. Case go from cold to hot, state's evidence. Kaboom, Sports City Chefs is in the room. Cooking up hot topics to put up on your spoon. They well in tune, blown like a flower in June. Superman vs. MF Doom, the clouds loom. So tell a friend it's the Sports City Chefs again. Pay attention, tune in, we on the set again. Sports City, Chefs, Chefs. Sports City, Chefs, Chefs. Yeah. Cabby, Taj.
Connecticut.
Good evening, Sports City. It's your boy TP Tymeless back in the building with Powell 103 Radio and the Sports City Chefs. The calling number is 929-477-2759. You got the next 2 hours locked and loaded with Sports City. Y'all could have been anywhere else in the world, but y'all are here with the Chefs. Man, the Crossover Cafe is getting ready to take flight. We got a lot of interesting things to jump into across the board, Eastern Conference to Western Conference. I got the usuals in the building, calling in by way of the state of Indiana, Delaware's own Arkeezy, a.k.a. Mr. King. Welcome to the cafe. How are you feeling this evening?
I'm feeling real good. Tom is super excited to be with you here tonight at the Crossover Cafe. Let's get it going, my brother.
Also calling in by way of the state of California, out of the state of Connecticut, we have Vinny in the building. Vinny, welcome to the cafe. How are you feeling this evening?
Feeling good. Yeah, feeling really good. Excited to be on with you, and yeah, let's have a good show. I'm excited to see what you got.
Okay, and last but not least, my brother calling out of the mountain region of the United States by way of the state of Colorado, Big Easy, a.k.a. Eric Gross. Welcome to the cafe. How are you feeling this evening?
Good evening, my brothers. Excited to be here at the cafe. We are back, and we got a great show for everybody tonight, so let's get right down to it, my brother.
Okay, so we had a couple of electric matchups last night. We had an interesting win come back, but I wanted to start off like this. There is a situation going on in the NBA where we have the All-Star break being mentioned coming back in March. I want to see how you guys feel about this, especially with the heightened situation around the nation. Is this a smart move, a smart thing to do as a fan spectacle for us across the globe? I can't even just say here in the United States because it's a bigger situation. It's a pandemic that we're fighting, and it's supposed to take place in Atlanta, where that's probably one of the more social areas in the country also. I want to see how you guys feel about the All-Star Weekend. We're getting feedback from both players, fans, and people around the league alike with mixed reviews. So I want to throw this one in the cafe, see how you guys feel. I'll start with you first, Eric. Your thoughts on the All-Star Weekend, potentially the weekend of March 7th.
I'm glad they did, TP. I think we, talked about this a little bit on a show a few months ago, whether it was a good idea or not. And I think with all the vaccines rolling out, you know what I mean, they're starting to vaccinate a lot of people. I do anticipate that this is going to die out, hopefully sooner rather than later. But I think it's a great deal. The NBA All-Star Game, the NBA puts on the best All-Star Weekend, in my opinion, out of all sports. So very entertaining. You got the skills competition and then, of course, the game where, the players have fun and go all out. So it's very entertaining. I think it's a good thing for the NBA. And it looks like most of the players are on board with this. They wanted it to happen, because the NBA PA agreed to this. So, I think it's going to be fun. The All-Star Game voting, the ballots are already up and running on NBA.com, so everybody get your votes in, get those casted. So, I'm excited to see this.
Okay, Royce, your thoughts on the situation with the heightened situation of the environment around the country or the globe, if you will. I'm not saying it right. But your thoughts on, the mixed reviews that we've heard and the players that are speaking out, if it's worth it or not to go down there and, risk their own health and also the lives of others and, trying to bring this game, to a worldwide spectacle. Your thoughts on the All-Star Weekend potentially coming back March 7th?
Well, Thomas, originally, as a fan who's actually living in Indianapolis, Indiana, when I knew the All-Star Game was going to be here before the pandemic broke loose and ravaged the world, I was excited about it. And to hear that it was going to be canceled and there was no All-Star Game, I've been operating under that premise. Now, for the NBA to decide, okay, we need the money, we have to still have an All-Star Game, and it's not going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana, but it's going to be rather in Atlanta, that was a little disappointing for me as a fan. But I do understand that one of the reasons for having it there in Atlanta is because the TNT studios are there. It makes it a little bit easier. They don't have to travel for broadcast. So I get it. However, with the pandemic, doing the types of thing that it does, with the testing, the season being shortened, but still a grind and a grueling thing for the players' bodies, Thomas, I would think this would be a great time for rest and recovery as much as possible for players, as well as a mental health break, if you will, to get back and relax a little and spend some time with family and children so they could come back and continue to entertain us with that second half of the season without necessarily having to play a mid-season All-Star game. It would be great to just maybe vote and acknowledge that. But, again, money is on the line. And while I might not agree with the decision, I do get in and completely understand it.
Okay. And last but not least on this situation, Vinny, your thoughts on the All-Star Weekend? Just like Eric said, the spectacle is probably, to me, one of the better All-Star weekends in the major sports. Is it worth it? Is it a situation where I feel like they are chasing money? Is it worth risking these guys' health? Or, because people are dying because of this situation and being in a big social town of Atlanta down there in Georgia, is it worth it watching some of our favorite players from our respective teams go down there and enjoy their vacation and risk it all, or stay put and enjoy a week to at home and go back out there and fight the fight?
Okay, thank you first of all, Ty, for the question. That's a good question. It's a loaded question. I'm going to answer it and then I'll explain. Yes and no. So yes, they should play it because I'm a fan. Let me get this right. Yes, they should play it because we need to open up. And I personally feel like we're being governed based on fear tactics, and everybody's like, stay at home and be worried. I'm a teacher, so I talk to the kids online during the day, and they want to go back to school, and they're wondering what's going on. So from that aspect, I say play it, and that way everybody can start to get it, move in that direction of normalcy, unity, and you can see what's going on. I say no, don't play it, leave it alone, because I love the game. I love watching these guys play. I'm watching them right now. I do fantasy basketball, and if they played it, maybe something would happen where somebody would get a virus and spread it to his team, and that would make the other teams have to cancel for a few weeks. And I don't know what he wants to. I don't want to see that again. We want to try and stay away from that. I know that the vaccines and everything that's happening is going to be helpful second half of the year. And but to answer your question, and now I hope I said it properly, how you can see why it's kind of like a yes and no answer. No, don't play it because I don't want anybody to get sick, and I don't, and then get ruled out for a couple of weeks. Yes, play it because we want to exhale and just watch it and watch life kind of get back to normal. So that's what I got for that one. Thank you, Ty.
I just wanted to chime in too real quick, Tyrone. Hey, bro, the thing is, we got to look at, it's not like it's full-blown a pandemic anymore, you know what I mean? They're rolling out vaccines, so a lot of the public's getting vaccinated right now, so that's a really good thing, you know, so I think it is a safe decision based on that, you know what I mean? So we do got people getting vaccinated and combating this thing, so, you know, it's going to get better and better, I think.
I agree. I totally agree 100% with that. I just think that with the rules that are in place, though, right now, the NBA has, everybody's getting tested very, very frequently, and if somebody does test, then you're out, and everybody close contact is out for a little bit. So based on the rules that are in play right now, we're going to play by the rules that are set in front of us, that have been put there by people. And so based on that, I say let's be safe and just we want to keep watch the games.
Yep.
Yeah, but that So,
Amen.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of torn on this situation because, you know, the fan in me wants to see everything, whether it's just what I'm hearing, the skills competition and the game will be played. I don't know if they're going to have the dunk contest and the three-point shootout. I want to hear more about this situation. But just to have it be played is a fun thing to see everybody get together and have a nice time, respectively, for the fans that, you know, devote time and, you know, money, things of that nature toward the league and the sport. But then, like, the humanitarian comes into me, and it's like all of these players, all of these human individuals have lives and families that they have to be there for. And they can go down there and just be in the thick of the air and something happen to them. So it's like I look at it at the fan perspective, and I get it that we all want to see something on this March 7th weekend and have some fun watching it. But then again, it's like somebody could have a daughter being as young as 4 years old and can't get back to them, or, you know, bring something back to their daughter or son and something happened to them. So it's like, respectively, I got to understand or feel what the players feel about it. If the players are more or less feeling like it's something under their skin or they don't want to, you know, be bothered with going down there, I respect it. But if they feel like they come to a common ground and want to be as safe as possible and cautious as they can ever be, and they figure this out on going down there, then I'm all for it and I support it. So I'm like on the fence about this, but like I'm more or less along the lines of safety than being sorry. That's the way I look at it. Like I gotta respect them. That at the end of the day, we may love this out of sport, but this is their job, and they have to provide for families, and let alone to you know, wherever they're coming from in a respected area. Like it's heightened in California, the COVID-19 situation. Not to say, you know, God forbid, let me knock on wood, but picture, you know, LeBron and AD and Kawhi and Paul George get down to Georgia and it's on them. You know what I'm saying? Like they're in a plane with recycled air, so on and so forth. There's so many things that people have to be aware of. Are they going to get on a bus and drive? That's going to take a couple of days for them to get down there. So I don't know how they handle this. I know they're trying to follow safety precaution after safety precaution, but I'm along the side of the players before, you know, putting my selfish agenda and watching these guys go out there and play ball. Okay, so I'll get away from that one. That was an interesting one that I thought about. We had De'Aaron Fox come out and speak out about that as well. In play right now, just going through some of the scores that are going down. Utah and Atlanta just ended in the fourth quarter. They're in Atlanta. Utah's up 80-63, and there's a battle in the middle of Texas. The Mavericks are up 80. Well, no, Golden State just hit a bucket, so Golden State is up 83-82. This is a tight one. Halftime, Portland and Philly are at it, tied at 57, and Houston and Memphis are just now starting the first quarter, and Houston's up 9-4. I want to see how you guys feel about what's going on. I do have another person in the building calling out of that region of Georgia. We have Naj in the building. Welcome to the Crossover Cafe. How are you feeling this evening?
Hey, yeah, you know me, man. Can't hold me down. But, yeah, man, you got to get the interns off running the phone line, man. What's going on, fella?
We're doing all right. How you feeling?
You know I got to come in and mess with you, Ty, off the rip. But yeah, I want to get in on that last question.
Definitely, start up.
Yeah, well, you know, everybody likes a party, right? Nobody likes the guy who comes in and says the party's over, or no, we can't have the party. Sometimes I got to be that guy. So, like, for the All-Star game, it's penny wise and pound foolish. Like, and here's the biggest reason why. Last week, we had a situation where Tyler Hero, after a game, had a positive result based on one of his roommates, but he had already played in the game. So the protocols, as good as they are, they're not 100% efficient. Things can happen. And the second part of that is we just had a situation where the Memphis Grizzlies missed 2 weeks of playing basketball because they had an outbreak within their team and they couldn't play. The agenda this year is finish the 72-game season and hand somebody a trophy. You want to get through the season. That's the most important thing. A quick cash grab for a weekend is not worth the risk of having what? Your premier players all in the same building. If you, like you just talked about the West Coast portion of that, but just think about what happens if, let's say, you have an outbreak on the Eastern Conference All-Stars. So multiple teams who now you have to figure out ways to juggle their schedule or play games to where people are basically playing backups in, 7-man rotations and things like that. Like, you're actually diluting your product and you're risking the rest of the season. Look, you have a Zoom. You have, like I said last week, you had the people hold up a plaque, hey, I was an All-Star this year. And you don't have the All-Star festivities. You don't have the game. And guess what? You still made history because you could say this was the year we didn't play because we had a pandemic going on. And that's also something that you add into the history of NBA basketball. Strange event. We didn't want to risk it, so we didn't do it. So to me, this cash grab is reckless and silly, and they're actually putting the season at risk. I want to see somebody hold that trophy up at the end of the year. I'm not worried about who wins the dunk contest or who wins the glorified exhibition game. I want the real stuff, so don't risk it. This is a huge mistake, in my opinion.
Okay, anybody else that would like to, add on to that before we get away from it? Because I agree with him. This is a big situation. It's a different scenario around the world today. It's not even just respectively how we feel or our families feel. It's about these players that are getting those big contracts, and we look at them. Some people look at them in the lens of, oh, they're spoiled athletes and they should go out there and play, like, because we want to see them go out there and play. But would you, put families at risk or your own family at risk just to, appease other people's, palate, if you will? I don't know. I feel different.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid point because, I think all of us here at the table can all agree that we'd rather see the NBA playoffs going on than the All-Star game because Naj did bring up a valid point. If they do get infected, then we're risking, multiple teams and then, the worst case scenario, the league getting or the season getting suspended because of it. So I'm with you on that. I would definitely rather see someone hoisting the trophy. But at the end of the day, too, as a fan, it's good to see the All-Star game. So, but we'll just have to see how it plays out and trust in the, we'll just have to put it in God's hands in a sense. That's all we can do. So.
Okay.
Yeah, hope is not a strategy. And I just want to say, don't subject me to having to watch Reggie Jackson and Luke Kennard in the next couple of weeks because Paul George and Kawhi can't play. Like, don't put that on me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
Be forced to watch that.
Makes perfect sense.
Really. I don't know. Maybe you might like that, man. It might. Well, you're in the Eastern Conference, so I said it was better chances for Atlanta, but Atlanta's out east, so I can't really, try to pull that for you. Let me get away from that. So I know we've had a lot of interesting things going across the league. I want to get you guys to throw some things in here as well. But I know I could be stingy at times. I'm being told that people want to get some of their stuff out here in the cafe and let people eat, but I've been cooking for the past couple of days, so I want to make sure that I'm being fair in this building. So I got an oldie but goodie back in the building. I'm going to get this one around the kitchen. Royce, I want to see what you're bringing to the cafe. Give me a topic that we could dice up and have for the people today.
Oh, well. I think
I'm sorry.
Are you there? Am I coming through?
Finish. No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay. No. I got nothing. I forgot what I had put in the chat, man. I thought you were cooking.
No. Oh, no doubt. No, I got it. No doubt. So I just want to be fair before I get away from things. So, okay, first and foremost, the Dallas Mavericks picked up an interesting win yesterday, right? They won that game up against Atlanta where these guys are going in two directions, right? And in this situation, they are playing ball, which I actually didn't think that they had the gall to get some of these games. So these are the games that I said that they had to put a string of wins together to try and climb into. They are giving Golden State a fight right now. They are trying to get back into the thing, and I feel like they've been listening to me talk my talk. So I want to see how you guys feel about this Dallas Mavericks situation where they are just moved down to 9-13 and 13th in the West right now. And I don't really want to put this on the players. I'm more or less looking at the coach, Rick Carlisle. Like, he got an interesting win on the road. They are, doing a little bit of home cooking right now up against Golden State, which I don't know which Golden State team we're going to watch to win this game. Is it going to be Steph going off late, or if Luka pulls this out? It's interesting because it's more or less the guard play that's going to have to corral the situation. So just figuring this out more or less with the involvement of the organization of this Mavericks team and Rick Carlisle. Can they survive the storm? Going up against these teams in the Western Conference, pulling off an interesting win last night up against Atlanta. Whereas I'll come right back to you. Your thoughts on Carlisle and the Mavericks team. If you want to, peg another player within the organization, you can.
I appreciate you coming back to me because I'm going in a different direction. I cannot find fault with what Carlisle has done this season with the Dallas Mavericks. Timeless. This Dallas Mavericks team is just, come back together. Multiple players coming back off of injury in that starting lineup. Dorian Finney-Smith, Max Kleber. These guys have missed significant time, which forced Carlisle to do some patchwork. They just got Porzingis back the month of January. Luka Doncic has done as much as he could by himself, attempting to carry the team as far as he could, as well as managing what is sometimes the inconsistency of the shot as well as shot selection from Tim Hardaway Jr. So after, I think what we saw last night in that win against Atlanta was the opportunity for them to get back to the unit and the rotation that was successful last season as they climbed their way into the playoffs. And so I think we need to give them at least from here until the All-Star break to make some progress with the new additions in terms of player personnel, that being Josh Richardson, who came over from Philadelphia, to get acclimated to all of what it is Carlisle is putting into place this season with this team. It's another opportunity for Luka Doncic to make his case for league MVP. That was a lot of the noise and chatter in the preseason. And so with Timeless, we're going to see what it is exactly that Carlisle has created, along with the help of the general manager there and owner Mark Cuban, and I think the GM is Donnie Nelson. His name started to slip my mind, but this Maverick team is a young team that is in a great position, Timeless, for the future. And what I mean by future, I'm talking about those years as LeBron, should move out of the way. I don't think he's playing beyond age 40, and with that being the case, it's all about who is prepared in this arms race to be next up to try to snatch and grab Larry O'Brien trophy, Thomas.
Okay, being another Western Conference guy, Eric, your thoughts on this Mavericks team in Carlisle? They picked up a big win to push them to 9-13 right now. They're in a fight with Golden State. I don't know how this will pan out as coming down to the fourth quarter, and knowing that Steph could get hot at any given moment. They know Luka has that surprise capability, and he's hit a big shot or two within his career, especially that one in the bubble also. Just figuring out how this game may fizzle out. Can they afford to fall to 9-14? Do they have to pick this up to push to 10-13 to stay within the hunt of this pack in the Western Conference? And also, I'll let you expand that on what Rick Carlisle and if you agree or disagree with what's been said thus far.
I personally think, Carlisle's a good coach. Make no mistake about it. But I think things are getting kind of stagnant over there in Dallas, you know what I mean? I think Cuban's holding on to him because of that championship, and he's had some really good years. But Golden State tonight, you know, they're ahead 99-93, so I don't know if Dallas is going to be able to pull this game off. And Golden State's doing this without Wiseman in tonight, and Kelly Oubre Jr. is going off. He already has 31 points. You got Steph Curry with 26, Wiggins with 11, Draymond Green with 9. So they're getting a lot of good performance right now out of their players. So and I do like what I'm seeing from Brunson and Hardaway. You know, they both Hardaway has 16, Brunson has 17. Porzingis and Doncic both have 23 points apiece. So if the Dallas Mavericks can get consistency from some of their guys like Hardaway and Brunson, then, yeah, they can make it interesting, no doubt about it. You know what I mean? Especially Josh Richardson. He needs to get going, like we talked about on a few shows ago. You know, someone brought up, does he even know he's been traded to Dallas because he hasn't shown up yet, which has been basically pretty much the truth. You know, he only has 6 points tonight in 25 minutes. So they need more performance out of these players. You know, you can't fully pin it on Carlisle. I just don't think they have, you know, too many weapons, consistent weapons outside of Porzingis and Doncic. So, you know, if they can get consistent play for some of these players, especially Maxi Kleber, you know, then they'll make it interesting. They can make an 8th or 7th seed, but it's going to be really tough for them. The West is banging, and I don't think they're going to win tonight against Golden State because Golden State's just, I mean, a lot of their players are. Golden State's surprising me this year. You know, I thought they were going to be at the bottom of the barrel, but they got some really good talent over there. They've made some really good moves and draft picks. So the Warriors are going to be, you know, a team right there at the end of the day, you know, making a playoff run. So it's going to be hard to beat, especially when you got Steph Curry and Oubre Jr. playing so good tonight. So, yeah, it's a long shot for him, in my opinion, Ty, for Dallas to be making the playoffs this year.
Vinny, your thoughts on what's been mentioned thus far, especially for Dallas to try and stay in the hunt? I know we're still in front of the All-Star weekend, and I know that's typically the halfway point. Can they actually put this thing together and make this thing look right within the Western Conference, knowing that every game is going to be a tough fight, even on this season where the Wolves can shock you, even though the Wolves are looking terrible, but that's a game that you got to go out and earn. Are your thoughts on Dallas trying to get back into this thing? I don't think they can fall to 9-14. They have to try and steal this game somehow, and they're at home, and I'm saying that they have to steal this game. But your thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks, Rick Carlisle, and the state of this organization, as we had high hopes for them to turn this thing around, even though they've been bitten by injury. Some of these players have not stepped up to the call, but they got rid of a big piece in Steph Curry, and it's not looking like they made a good move.
Well, okay. Thank you for the question. For everybody has to slow. If anybody who's pushing the panic button with Dallas needs to really slow their roll. Royce was spot on. They haven't even really played together as a team yet. They got hit with the COVID thing, and they had Vinny Smith was out for a while. Maxi Kleber's just coming back tonight. Porzingis has been out for a little bit. Him and Doncic haven't really played together very much so far this year. Hardaway Jr. wasn't there for a little bit. So they're like, this is like one of the first times tonight actually that they're playing. They're starting to come together, and it's going to probably take them a few games before they can start gelling. I'm watching this game. I can't even believe what I'm seeing. It's 100-93 in the third quarter. So these teams are going to end up. What are they going to end up scoring? Was the final score going to be like 140 to 140? So the thing is that the game is evolving, and that's what really interests me here and watching it happen. But yeah, I think Dallas is going to be fine. I don't think they're going to. I'm not going to say put them on like championship caliber, but I think that they're going to be more competitive, and they got to start learning how to play defense. On the other side with Golden State, that's just a really well-run organization. They draft well. They scout well. Kerr's he's a great coach, and he's just a good people person too. Because that's a lot of it with the NBA is you have to be able to manage egos. You have to be able to talk to guys who have always had everything and have always been the alpha number one. And you got a bunch of those guys in the locker room with you, and you got to make that work. And you are also now you want to be a leader. And Kerr is just his mannerisms and his approach has gained respect. Obviously championships, but even before he won championships with Jordan. And that organization is also is just a well-run organization. So I like watching them kind of. I think they'll be interesting in the future. I think there's another championship in there. If you want to talk about that, that could be a good question. Is there another championship in the next 3 or 4 years for Golden State?
Wait, do you think they have another championship in them, this season or next season?
I wouldn't say this season. I think this season might be asking a little much. I think that next year they have an opportunity to do some stuff. Because you got to remember, this team is the foundation of this team is solid. They're good. And they just and having players like Wiggins. I think Wiseman is going to be the kind of like a big star in the league. I think that was a great draft pick, and he's really turning some heads early on here. Possible rookie of the year. We'll see. It's definitely early, but LaMelo's got something to say about that. But it's a good thing watching this team kind of come together and they keep it going.
Okay, Naj, how do you feel about the situation with Dallas and where they are as an organization, especially with Coach Carlisle? How long of this leash is going to, roll out with this team? And this is a game that they are playing Golden State tonight at home, where they must protect their house, and this lead has grown to a 106-95 lead at the bottom of the third. Your thoughts on Dallas right now?
Well, look, man. Golden State is 2 games ahead of Dallas, so they're not doing so well either. They're 5-5 in their last 10. So Golden State's not doing great either. Dallas has been hit with the COVID bug and the injury bug. So now they're getting all their soldiers back in place, and I expect them to make a run. I think they're either going to at least get to the 8th seed or the play-in game by the time all this is said and done. And ultimately, a dangerous team is anybody who has an all-NBA guy who had to fight for seeding and is playing better closer to the end of the season towards the playoffs. So I think they could be a tough out for somebody. They could end up being a problem and knock out a higher seed. So I think things are on the way up for Dallas. Now, as far as Rick Carlisle, I'll just put it like this. Does Luka like him? Does Luka want him going forward? If so, that's where he'll be. Like that's kind of how that goes. Like if Luka wants him to coach him, then he'll be there. Now, the tricky part with Carlisle is, remember, he's a Larry Brown disciple, kind of made his bones on defensive philosophies, and I don't know if he's 100% on board with this offensive run-and-gun style of basketball to where defense is really not your calling card. I don't know if he's happy about that or if he just wants to, see this thing through with this young kid he has who's 21 years old, remind you, and, they see the future ahead of him. So, this tonight, it is what it is. If they lose, oh well. You got a lot of basketball left to be played. You're still only 3 games behind Golden State. So, I think we're looking at two lower tier teams.
Let me spice that up for you, Naz. Okay, so when do they figure to move from him? Is this a Luka decision with the organization up top? Because, he is young. Porzingis isn't that old either. So it's like, do they ask these guys if they're comfortable, or do they say when and try to get a new coach to try to work with these guys? Because then that'll be another rebuilding situation. I don't think the coach just comes in there, fits the glove, and turns the thing around in the Western Conference. This is a strong, to me still. I know the East picked up their pace, but to me still, I think the Western Conference is the stronger conference within the league.
Well, I don't even want to have that argument with you, Lee. The league has a lot more parity than what we're used to, man. They're top-heavy. You got 3 powerhouses at the top of both conferences, and then you just got a smorgasbord of teams who are only a few games apart. Like, that's what you see East and West, and the bottom is kind of the same. But as far as, who makes the call. I don't think Porzingis is on the other end of that call anymore. I think that's just the Luka call. I don't think you consult Porzingis about anything. And I'm not trying to down Porzingis and saying that. I'm just saying, I think he's a fringe, possibly all-star type level player, but I don't think he's, an all-NBA franchise guy who you need to talk to before you make a move. I think that's just Luka. So if him and Carlisle's relationship is still good, I think Rick will be there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anybody
I
like to add
anything? No.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Thomas, I would agree with what Nas just said. This team is young. Porzingis, Luka trying to come together, figure out how they actually fit next to one another. That has not been accomplished or achieved yet. So we don't even know truly if the dynamic duo that is Luka and KP is dynamic enough to actually bring them a championship. But the one thing you definitely don't want to do this early in their development or attempting to lay this as a foundation is change who the head coach is, especially based on, regular season performances, up and downs in the standings. That's just the ebbs and flows of the NBA. First thing that needs to continue to happen is keep showing that these two guys can lead this team into the playoffs with some type of regularity. Like, you have to take your bumps and your bruises, you win some and you lose some. So for them to be I believe it was a 6 seed last season, and have a decent showing, given, again, what was going on, with COVID as well as injuries, this was something to build upon. If they continue with that, certainly they have an opportunity this season to get a new implementation of the team 7 through 10. You have a play-in, but as this starting lineup and the guys on the bench get healthy and get their chemistry back and get the rolling, because remember, we just started in December. We're only at, what is the date, February 4th. So really players are just now probably getting into NBA game shape. So by the time we get back after the All-Star break, Thomas, I think we can be better judges about who's winning, who's losing, who's really contending or pretending, and who are the teams that are going to make the playoffs with some type of regularity, and then we can start to weed out maybe the right pieces and who are the fits or non-fits around Porzingis and Luka Doncic. Without time, without the games played, there's really no way to call who the issue or the problem might be. And I just don't think the problem at this point is Rick Carlisle when it comes to coaching this roster as the personnel is currently constructed. I don't believe that everyone on that roster fits, but however, we have to let it work, because all the coach can do is deal with what the GM has provided. Now, maybe we might want to consider, is the GM doing all that he can to get the right personnel around the skill sets and talents of Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis? That might be the question.
From the Dallas situation, they are at a close in the third quarter, and it was just 95-102. Golden State had pushed this to a 15-point lead entering the fourth. So those questions do remain defensively. Oh, no, let me get this right. 96-110. They might have another free throw coming with 0.6 on the clock. I'm sorry about that. But we'll see how this does pan out. I'm looking at the situation similar, and I feel funny about them looking at the youth of this team and Luka, if he's comfortable or not. Like, he is the star or superstar, however you want to pan this out, for him to be the guy of that team. And they turn to him at this point in time and say, is this working? Do they move away from him? I had another discussion in another network, and basically saying that this was a 1 or 2 year situation for Porzingis, and they unfortunately may have to move away from Porzingis. So this is interesting in itself if they want to keep the tandem or work with Luka and the show around him, and hopefully these pieces actually pan out. But I think it's more of a management situation, if they can draft well, if they could pull some pieces in there to help Luka, or do they stick with the guns to try to watch the development happen with I don't even feel fair in saying it, but I have to say it, with an injury-prone Porzingis and working with the rest of the crew that they do have there now. So we will see how this goes down. Like I said, the third quarter ended as 110-96 in favor of Golden State. And they have a back-to-back or two. They're not leaving. They're going to be comfortable staying in that hotel. They have a back-to-back up against the Warriors, so it won't be over. They have another matchup with them coming up soon. Okay, so moving right along, I want to talk about a team that's like hiding in the midst of the top of the Eastern Conference and doing their thing, and that's the Boston Celtics. Now, looking at them, they're ranked 4th right now in the Eastern Conference. They're sitting with an 11-9 season right here, and I'm just going to lift the lid in this doggone kitchen and make it hot. Is this a year that they win the East or bust, or do they still have time with their coach and their situation being Brad Stevens? And I've been pegging this guy and putting the question marks around him, but it's a situation where they have to figure this out now than later. Just like we said with Luka and the youth there and Porzingis figuring this out, I don't want to see them move any of the pieces that they have there. I mean, they can get another big. I want to see the consistency of Kemba being out there on the floor. How do they figure this out with Brad Stevens? As long as the leash has been for him, and I don't really want to say the bullets that he's dodged, but since he's been in the league, he's done a good enough work up in Boston to have them be playoff relevant. But when do they win the East? When do they basically claim this over the likes of Brooklyn, over the likes of the Sixers, over the likes of the Bucks, who are stronger in the regular season instead of them going into the postseason and not having enough, even though they came out and played well the other day or yesterday, if I might add. But when does Boston say, you know what, this is our conference as well? When do we outstep these guys? Because now Brooklyn has made their little army. It doesn't look like they're going to break that up unless they have a real bad success, underachieving season, if you will. I don't want to say bad success, but if they underachieve and don't make the Eastern Conference Final or the finals, then this is a situation that I can readdress. But right now, you have the notables like the Sixers or the Nets that look like to be some of the stronger teams getting there. I had somebody try to come out there and say, this was funny, if Levine moved to the Raptors could get back in there and win the East. I was like in my head, I was saying I don't think that would be the move for either team. Like Chicago has a core right now that Billy Donovan's trying to work with, and I think Nick Nurse is probably a big man away from getting back into this conversation. But when does Boston put this thing together and claim the East, or at least be one of those teams that you say, you know what, they're ready now? Naj, I'll let you set this one off first.
Yeah, well, the difficulty is Kemba's been out for the majority of the season. He just came back. He's just now about to get off the minutes restriction he's been on. So that's kind of disrupted everything. But in that, we've seen Jalen kind of grow into himself. And, of course, everything depends on what kind of superstar Jason Tatum becomes. Like, that's the biggest question mark with the Celtics. But as far as Brad Stevens, I think a lot of fans and writers and the Celtics organization did him a disservice. They tried to make him out to be this boy genius who is the greatest coach to ever live, when it's like, well, he's a pretty good coach, but this is the NBA. This is about Jimmys and Joes, not X's and O's. Nobody out-strategizes people with better talent on their roster. Like, this is not college where you can go to your 1-3-1 and pull off the upset win on the road and win the tournament or something like that. This is the NBA. You have to have the talent. And they presented Brad Stevens as if he was the difference maker, and that made this lofty reputation that he's having a hard time living up to. But are they coached well? Are they sound defensively? Yes. Their biggest issue is shot making. Marcus Smart is out right now. He just had a little calf injury. He'll be back soon, but no matter what, if you play them, it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a tough series. And Jason Tatum can be special enough to where he can win a series almost, single-handedly if he gets hot enough. So, yes, they're a factor. I do love watching them play. But, Brad Stevens, he's a good coach. Is he better than Spoelstra and some of these other more seasoned, more accomplished coaches? No. But, he's kind of gotten that reputation. Like, there was a infamous basketball writer a couple of years back, and he asked a question on Twitter during all the Brad Stevens hysteria. He said, would you take Brad Stevens or a player if you were building a team? Because his answer was he would take Brad Stevens over Giannis. Like, that's how ridiculous it had gotten. at that point
Wow.
with the Brad Stevens stuff. But yeah, man, we'll see, dude. I like watching them play though, dude. They're gritty. You know, they're a tough team. I don't know if Theis and Tristan Thompson is enough to get where you want to go. They may need another piece, but I like to watch them though. So they're good TV.
But that experience of Tristan helped them though. That's another thing because Tristan has had his runs, but I don't think he's that piece that they want on the floor. I think that they might have to go. It depends. If Tristan has an outbreak run and gets his double-doubles, maybe a 10-point effort and get his rebounds in, they can keep him on the floor. But I think Theis is one of those guys that they got to keep on the floor until we see the consistency out of Tristan. But I can be wrong in saying that. That can be something that we do see go down the line. But I don't know how much of the owners, and it's the same way I'm looking at Carlisle. How much do we put in front of the players and management, or do we look at the coach and trying to put these pieces into play the right way? I'll come to you next on this one, Vinny. Your thoughts on Boston, Carlisle, and their effects on the Eastern Conference. Can they actually shake the tree, if you will, and get to the top of it while doing so?
Yeah, thanks, Kai. You meant Stevens, but yeah. I like what they're doing, but you're right. That's a good question you're asking because they've been to the conference finals in when was it? In 2016, 17, 2017, 18 conference finals, and then 18, 19 it was the semis they lost, and then last year again they got to the conference finals. So yeah, you got to take the next step. And with the Celtics, I say the word that comes to mind when I just take a deep breath and think about them. Is patience. I think we should be patient with them and not do anything too drastic. It wasn't that long ago, remember, that they fleeced Brooklyn, kind of the same way. We won't talk about that. We won't go back there. But they got all those draft picks and they made picks, and they're another organization that's well run. And Danny Ainge he's kind of underrated, but he's done a really great job with them. And Stevens is a good coach. He actually surprised me when he was at Butler. First of all, he looks like he's 12, and when he was at Butler, he kind of just made a name for himself because he's got those guys like to really play with each other into the Final Four, and nobody really knew them. And I wasn't really a believer. And then when he got to the NBA, I was like, oh geez, there's another guy like what's that guy's name from UMass? He went to the NBA, didn't do well. I forget his name now. But anyhow, a lot of players, a few coaches didn't transition very well from college to the NBA, and he surprised me. He did. Whatever he does, whatever he's got, like people just have that it factor. Athletes have it too. It's like that it factor that you just like when I was saying last week on last week's show that Cousins was a very talented athlete. All these guys are tremendous athletes. They're all on really really close levels with each other. The difference is in that it factor. There's just that something that some players just have like an extra gear, want to work a little bit harder, pay a little bit more attention, listen more. There's just little intangibles that really apply to everyday life. And if you live with these intangibles that I'm speaking to, you live a better life. But as an NBA player, you're a better player. You grow faster. And your team plays more as a unit. And the Celtics do that. And they are growing together. I think Tatum is going to, one of the guys said it, the level of superstardom that Tatum gets to, I think that's what we're gonna watch. And Brown, too. I think Brown's continuing to go a step up. Yeah, they're an exciting team. It's going to be a battle in the next few years with Milwaukee because they're pretty solid too, and Giannis is a beast. So it's exciting for the NBA and really great for the product. We'll see. I'm not going to give up on Boston. I'll say practice patience.
Okay, Eric, your thoughts on your rival being the Laker guy. How do you feel this Celtics situation panning out in the Eastern Conference? Is it a now situation? Do they still have time with the coach or the way they're constructed? Some teams are making moves and trying to get stronger within the Eastern Conference. Is this passing Boston by with the pieces that they do have? And they have potential to get there, but when do they try to make claim to take over the East?
Yeah, Ty, I agree with you on, time's running short on Brad Stevens. He's been there since 2013. They have made it to the conference finals a few times since he's been there, but they have all the pieces in play. This team was one of my favorites this year to come out of the Eastern Conference and compete, for an NBA Finals. They've just been hit with the injury bug early, so I think if they can get Kemba Walker back at full capacity, he's only been playing 25 minutes, averaging 15 points, 36% from, the floor, and he's a 42%, career shooter. So if they can get him back at the capacity of playing 34-plus minutes a game, I think they're going to be all right. Jaylen Brown and Tatum have emerged into superstars this year. Tristan Thompson, they have the pieces there that, and good role players in Robert Williams and Grant Williams and Javonte Green, Jeff Teague, and Daniel Tice. I also like the rookie they got, Peyton Pritchard. So this team does have a bright future, and I think if they can get Walker back this year at full capacity, they are going to make a run because this is a great team to watch, and they do have the talent there. I just think the big piece is missing Kemba Walker because when you have Tatum, Brown, and Walker out on the floor at full capacity, that's a big three on its own. Not as near as on the level as Durant, Harden, and Irving, but in its own right, it's definitely a good one. So I look for the Celtics to rebound and to go on a run if Kemba Walker comes back. But I do agree with you that Stevens' time is running out because they have had the talent there for a lot of years. So and it's good for business when the Celtics are doing good. It's good for the NBA. They're one of those teams like the Lakers that it's just good for the league, and I respect the heck out of the Boston Celtics. Even though they're a big rival to the Lakers, I do have that respect. So, and like I said, I'd like to see them compete there in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, wait to wrap this up. Your thoughts on Boston? Is it a situation where a lot of these teams are progressing and passing them around them, with the likes of a team that you follow well with the Sixers, Brooklyn making some moves to make that a powerhouse out of nowhere. And the other notables that are in the Eastern Conference, just to do them quickly, I doubt if the Pacers, step up, but the Bucks also. So it's more or less the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Nets that they have to basically, stomp out as we get to the postseason. But right now they're still in the middle of things and not being the team that's being talked about league-wide. How do you feel about the situation from what's been mentioned thus far?
Man, can I tell you what I really think? Really timeless.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay? Okay. Look,
of course.
Can we take the gloves off? Can we bring some heat to the kitchen? Is that okay?
I need it.
I'm just asking for a little bit of permission because it's too much respect for the history of the legacy that is the Boston Celtics franchise. If we want to talk about what Boston's been doing, they've been doing absolutely nothing. What's been impressive? What are we waiting for? A bunch of draft picks that turned into a few good players. Yes, we will acknowledge Brown and Tatum. That's wonderful. They have Brad Stevens. Okay, wonderful. But this team was supposed to go to an NBA Finals with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. Can we talk about failed experiment and not just blame Kyrie and assassinate the individual player? Let's talk about failed experiment. I get it. You might say it was bad luck, unfortunate injuries for Gordon Hayward, but Gordon Hayward, the way he's playing in Charlotte right now, he wasn't playing like that in Boston at any time, period. Is that Coach Stevens' fault? I don't know. I'm not blaming anybody. Let's be very, very clear. When you look at the Boston Celtics, all you see is potential. All you see are assets. There are no championship experienced players on that roster with the exception of just now getting Tristan Thompson this season. Is he a difference maker? Is he that kind of leader for that franchise? Absolutely not. That team is poorly constructed. I'm not giving Danny Ainge any credit for constructing a team that is a pretender. I say again, a perennial pretender, not a contender. Brown's not ready. Tatum's not ready because they were supposed to be complementary pieces around the leadership of Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. Those were the center pieces for them to make a run. But those guys did not work out. Everybody's gone. And now you're trying to fast-track Brown and Tatum to superstardom, and they're not yet ready. And Kemba Walker coming over was damaged goods before he got there. Kemba's a tremendous player. He's terrific. I'm not bashing Kemba Walker, but I'm saying his health is very, very important, and he's not 100% healthy. So whether you see him out on the court or not, trust me, he is not the same player that you were watching when he was in Charlotte. That being said, again, all those guards, why so many guards? When you have all the forwards on the roster, why so many forwards? Players who cannot do what you need them to do in order to actually advance deep into the playoffs and get to an NBA Finals. Having an advantage over a poorly coached Philadelphia 76er team that in terms of its roster construction actually was better than Boston. Psychologically, Philly had players like Ben Simmons who was refusing to shoot, and then you had an immature Joel Embiid who wasn't taking his play very serious or his health. So a change at the helm for Philadelphia is probably going to change the results should those two face off this season in the playoffs. But over the last 4 to 5 years, Boston Celtics are not real contenders. They haven't been because the roster, I say again, has been poorly constructed. You must rebound. They do not have a quality man in the middle. Look at the rotation at the center and the power forward spot. There is no one you respect as a stretch forward there. There's no stretch five. Tristan Thompson, Daniel Tice, the Time Lord Robert Williams. Really? You're going to the finals with that? You're going to take on LeBron and AD with that? No, stop it. I respect the history that is the Boston Celtics, but this roster is a joke, a flat-out joke. The talent that is Tatum and Brown, I love. But Danny Ainge must get on the phone, make phone calls, and make trades and get talent and truly, truly build around Brown and Tatum. That's your new direction. Build around Brown and Tatum. Until you build around those two, you're just playing off of people's emotions and the diehard fans that are the Boston Celtics fans that's going to believe in its historic franchise that has 17 banners. We have to stop it. Let's call it what it is. It's a joke. He needs to get busy. That's all I got, Thomas. That's what I think. That's what I see.
Hey, sometimes you got to reload. Let it go on them. Right? Let the shots be fired.
They are happening right now. So Roy, let me say this. So I want to keep this rolling, but before I do, Power 103 Radio with the Sports City Chefs. Tune in, call in. You already know 929-477-2759. We got you guys for the next hour. So again, Power103Radio.com. Now, before I get into another topic, because this is fresh though. If looking at the depth chart, right? You're saying a four. They have it constructed in the depth as Tatum at the four when Marcus Smart is on the floor. They have Kemba and Smart out there. Jalen running the three and Tatum stretching them at the four and then having Tice at the five, which would be an interesting lineup if that's how it's going to be constructed moving forward. But if they run into a big that's going up against Tatum, Tatum may get his shots off. But when they go on the other end, if they get them in foul trouble, you have one of your, I want to say the best player on the team in trouble at a questionable position. So, I mean, they do have pieces on the team that could go and try to fill that void, but they need them to contribute offensively or put points on the board to actually make that move relevant. How do you think this will pan out once they are at full strength, like getting a guy like Pritchard back if he comes back healthy in time and Smart coming back healthy in time too? So your thoughts on how this depth chart can be or –
Stop. You're at
I'll leave it alone.
you're asking for a rookie to come back healthy and make
No.
a difference? Really?
He's
So
another
you're
gun.
making my
He's
point.
He's
This team is poorly
another gun.
constructed. Marcus Smart, Timeless, is a very, very good role player. He is not a lead guard that's going to get your team to the finals. He's their veteran. He's the most tenured player on that Boston Celtic roster. They follow his lead. Wonderful. So they're very, very good team defense. They're very good defensively. But you said it. Just like their leader, Marcus Smart, no one can really hit a shot on a consistent basis as a team. So what they did accomplish in most recent seasons, because the league has been in flux and transition with youth coming in, because they did have Kyrie's presence, they did have Gordon some games, right, and some talent that was there. You go back even when Isaiah Thomas was on the roster, these young players, the ones that are left over in Brown and Tatum, were getting playoff experience. So that 90% of the game that matters the most, that is mental, where is getting that Celtic team past guys who are weaker and have a lower basketball IQ, with teams where guys are just coming into the league. And then if you have a coach who is being outclassed, and I hate to keep using the team that I'm a fan of, that I grew up on, the Philadelphia 76ers, but, you know, I'm going to call it like I see it, Timeless. Brad Stevens was outclassing and outcoaching Brown. I think that was his name. I don't even remember his name. I'm so happy that we have Doc Rivers, right? I can't even remember my own team.
It was Brett Brown.
Former coach,
Wow.
because Brett Brown. I mean, it was a complete disaster. It was a failed experiment, right? So that's all I'm saying. They have experience, so they've used that to continue to get postseason experience. Should we expect some patience? Cool. I'll give them. Let's be patient with the talents that, again, are Brown and Tatum. But I have zero patience left with the general manager, whose name is Danny Ainge, who's not busy enough getting the right players around Brown and Tatum to make a significant run. To actually say, look, we want to go to the finals and compete against LeBron James. He's not trying to do that right now. You know why? Because he knows exactly how good LeBron James and Anthony Davis are. And he'd rather not go and give them the opportunity, the Los Angeles Lakers franchise, crack at saying, we beat y'all again, and get up 18-17 in total championships. He'd rather just pretend, and we can say, all right, well, we lost to Miami. Y'all beat up on Miami for the ring, not us. Wait, what? What are you doing? Like, just look at what's happening. It's right there in front of our faces, man. Danny Ainge has got to get busy, Timeless. He is the guy, not Brad Stevens, not the players on the roster, because they're employees. Of course, you know, if I was a kid who wanted to be in the NBA and I earned my way and I got my job, I got my contract, hey, I'm just going to roll, status quo. It's not my job to construct the roster as a player. I'm supposed to show up and perform to the best of my ability. If you want to construct a championship roster, well, we need to look to the general manager. His name is Danny Ainge. I'm holding his feet to the fire. He's got to get busy and do something with this team. It's not about getting healthy. Get the right players.
Well, look. There's an argument to be said that Spoelstra and Nick Nurse stitched the clown suit on Brad Stevens as well in some of these playoff series that we watch. But the Danny Ainge point, I think it does hold well. I think Danny's kind of a victim of his own ability to pull off certain trades. He got trades that were so one-sided, so lopsided, that he continues to look for that still, to this day. And he becomes a little hesitant and scared to pull the trigger. So what happened with that huge haul that they got from the Nets? Well, Danny waited too long, didn't flip the picks when they were at their highest value, waited, and he got less and less and less for those packages when he probably should have gotten a lot more when you look at the roster-wise. Now, again, Theis and Thompson, I'm not sure if that's enough as far as the front court. Everything else is solid. Pritchard is going to come in and Teague won't play anymore. That's going to happen when that kid gets back. He's that much better than Teague. But, yeah, that 4-5 situation is going to be a dilemma because certain series you're not going to be able to play Tatum at the 4 for long stretches. And honestly, I would prefer if Tatum actually got thinner and played more 3, but that's a whole other story. But they're going to be a tough out. Marcus Smart is going to lead them. He's the de facto leader. He's kind of taking that upon himself. And you know, we'll see where it goes. But would I put money down on them getting to the finals? Yeah, I start to side with Royce at that point. But when it comes to putting some money down, I don't know, man.
Okay, fair enough. So I want to see if you guys everybody has access to how the standings look out west, right? Looking at them from 1 through 10, right? Because they're going to have this play-in. The Rockets are, and it's close because the Kings are behind the Rockets by half a game. Oklahoma City's a game behind them. But I want to just do 9 and 10 and leave it there, kind of, even though it's some pieces behind them, and Dallas is right behind Oklahoma City. Do you think this stays as it is 1 through 10, or do you think a team may fall out? Do you think Memphis may lag and fall out? Do you think a team like Phoenix still has what it takes to stay in this top 8? Because at one point we were talking about them about a week or two ago with them being in the top 4 or 5. They're slowly up and down, you know what I'm saying? And Portland with their injury situation, they can't get out of their own way with the injury bug, and I can't blame them because injuries happen in sports, you know, and I'm not too prone on the Spurs right now because of the pieces that they lost in years past and how they're constructed. I respect, now this is somewhere where I kind of put the mold around me the way the guys that you was looking at it. I respect Pop and what Pop is able to do and coach heavily within the regime of the NBA. But with this team, he's sitting at 8th, and any given night they can lose a game that you wouldn't think that they'll lose. They'll lose games that they're supposed to win. Golden State, and now you see me, now you don't. And Houston has found life again. They were running a little streak just a little while ago, lost the game just as soon as last night. So how do you guys feel if you do have access to the standings 1 through 10? I'll name them. Utah, Clippers, Lakers at 3rd, Nuggets 4th, Grizzlies 5th, Suns are 6th, Blazers are 7th, Spurs 8th, Warriors are 9th, the Rockets round out at 10. Do you think this stays as is, or do you think some of the teams below them may get into the frail? Or I want to see how you guys feel about this. Eric, I'll come to you first. Your thoughts on the Western Conference, how it is going down at this point in time.
Yeah, that's a tough one, Ty. I'm looking at the standings right now, and from 5 down to 13, even the Pelicans are showing signs of life as of late. So, this is a tough one for me. I think that the Warriors get in. They sneak in there the way they're playing. The Thunder, the Rockets, even the Kings. It's tough for me to call. I think it's going to pretty much stay. The top 4 are going to stay, you know what I mean? I think if the Trailblazers remain healthy, they're definitely going to get in. I think the Suns definitely have the firepower in the team. If healthy, they're definitely going to stick around. The Grizzlies are a good young team. They have the talent to, at least make the 8th seed. But if I'm going to have to pick a team, I'm going to go with the Grizzlies just because they're a lot younger team than these other teams. And the way the Warriors are playing right now, they're coming back to life. They have some very good, interesting pieces over there, and they're starting to gel right now. So the Rockets, as you mentioned, they're coming to life. So I see the Grizzlies being the team to fall out, and the San Antonio Spurs, like you mentioned, because they're just too inconsistent. Even though they have Popovich, that's the reason they're hanging around right now, because he's just one of the best coaches of all time. But I look for the Warriors and the Rockets to, sneak up in there.
Okay. Vinny, your thoughts on how the West is constructed? I do have a caller in queue that I want to get to as well.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the question. The West is fun. There's a lot of firepower out there. I like the Rockets. When those big trades go down, when Harden gets traded over and then team kind of rebuilds a little bit and they're coming together, I'll look at a team like the Rockets, and and I think that they can gel. I think Oladipo is a really good player. I think John Wall. People kind of forgot about John Wall. He had a year off where he was recovering from an injury, and now he's back, and he's doing that thing where. See, this is another thing I wanted to talk about. If you guys want to talk about it, one of the questions is how they do in the NBA, where players will play a game, and if it's a back-to-back, they sit, and it's almost like kind of coordinated. I mean, planned. Sometimes it's questionable. Sometimes it's surprising, but it's like rest days. I get it. Like you get hurt, and you need to recover. But anyway, back to the Rockets. They're really loaded. They have a lot of good players. I think that they can definitely make a run. I'm a big DeMarcus Cousins fan. I want to see him put it together. I think that he was so good before he got hurt on Sacramento, and he kind of went through this period where I think he got kind of like an edge, like an attitude. But now I feel like he could be maturing, and I'm watching him kind of come into like his own role. He's a backup now behind Wood, who's another player that he's just a phenom, and he's young, and he goes up and down the court, and he's an exciting player that nobody really talks about. So I feel like my surprise team in the West, even this year, with Silas as the new coach, he's a basketball mind. His father was a basketball guy too. So I'll say the Rockets can make a run, but the West is fun. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, it's basically a two-team race. It's the Lakers and the Clippers, and they're both. It's almost like we talked about last week. The regular season, it's fun. The reason why I take such interest in it is because honestly, I love it for my whole life, basketball, but fantasy keeps me going, and I like watching the players and the rotations and how the coaches do certain. Who comes out when, and certain coaches will play their starters even though the team is getting blown out. It's pretty cool to learn about that in the regular season. But to the playoffs, in terms of bringing championships home to your city, it's tough to say that the Lakers are gonna. I want to see who's gonna be able to beat them, because I don't see it. This Denver maybe. I mean, tonight they're playing. Oh, they just tipped off, didn't they? Yeah, they're going tonight. It could be a Western Conference, possibly if the Clippers slip again, a Western Conference showdown between the Lakers and the Nuggets. The Nuggets are another team that I kind of like. Jamal Murray, I don't understand. Jamal Murray is a player who he's the best player on the court some nights, and he's dropping 50 and can't miss, and he's actually a solid player pretty much every night, but sometimes he just disappears, and I don't know why the consistency is there with him. I want to see him be more consistent. The Joker he's just awesome. He's just a great player. He really makes that team. I'll tell you who makes that team. Who's really excited about that team is Michael Porter Jr. So he's somebody who I don't know if you guys remember. I'm sure probably do actually, but he was drafted and he was hurt. And everybody kind of mocked and laughed at Denver. Why are you drafting this kid? They drafted somebody who's hurt, but they took a chance. And even though they knew he wasn't going to play the first year, they're getting rewarded because he's if he can learn how to play defense a little more, he's going to be another player who's this is what second, third year. He's going to be a stud. He's going to be somebody to watch out for. And Denver is going to be good for a long time too, because they have Joker's young and players like Porter Jr. Are gonna be the centerpieces for that team. One last thing I want to say. One last thing I didn't jump in before, but about the Celtics is that they do have the pieces in place. A big man. I would like to see them get a big guy in there. Like they have a lot of those, like 3 or 4 different interchangeable pieces that they throw in there from time to time, and that's okay because they're all pretty good players. Tried cancer a little bit last year. Now they're trying Tristan Thompson, but that's not going to. I think that a difference for them could be a solid big man. Like I don't know who. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but that could be a move that might help them kind of go over the hump and get past teams like Milwaukee and possibly Indiana. But back to the Western Conference, it's It's a fun division. It's a fun league, but I'm going to watch closely what Houston does and how they come together. But the team that trades a superstar, I feel like gets slept on. People don't think about them as much. They're like, oh, they got rid of Harden, so now what do they get? Like, what do they got going on over there? Who's on their team? Let's look at them closely because they have some players on the wing, some big men at the point. So they look like they can be a team to be reckoned with even this year. Thank you. That's a great question, Ty. Thanks.
Calling in by way of the Virginia region from the 412, the 215, the 687. Sirius, welcome to the cafe. How are you feeling this evening?
Gentlemen, I mean, at some point, he's gonna get my area codes correctly. I'm only throwing 6 numbers at him. I'm only throwing 6 numbers at him. I mean, 703 to 416. I'm only throwing 6 numbers. But what's up, fellas? How we doing this evening?
Doing all right. So, top 10 seeds in the Western Conference as is. Do you need me to list them off? Do you think they remain the same, or do some pieces change? Especially with some of the teams that are there, below the top 10. Do you think somebody will sneak in? And I'll name them quickly so you don't have to look too far. Jazz, Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Suns, Blazers, Spurs, Warriors, and Rockets at 9 and 10.
Honestly, man, I think the Grizzlies, run out of gas, like people alluded to. I mean, this is an up-and-coming team that, made it to the playing game last year. I think they're a team that is going to, get some teams fit. I mean, they're getting their work handed to them this evening. But, I mean, this is a team that can pop up and, get a team on any given night. I said this yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I think I said this yesterday. The Dallas Mavericks, man, I do think they get right. I really do think the Dallas Mavericks call themselves into Western Conference relevancy as we go down the stretch here. But other than that, I do think, the number 1, number 2, number 3 teams are going to be, in the mix. Obviously, Denver's going to be in the mix. Utah's going to be in the mix. Both LA teams are going to be in the mix. But, when you start dealing with, that 5 to 10, any one of those teams can have a bad week, or a bad, 14 days and find themselves on the outside looking in. Also one thing that, we need to really be made aware of, and I'm sure you guys brought it up, is what type of COVID, situation pops. You know what I'm saying? How these, a lot of these teams are in the Western Conference and in the Eastern Conference, for that matter, have been COVID victims. And, they've had games canceled and postponed due to COVID. Does the NBA make those games up? Or does another team pop up with COVID, and it hurts their positioning down the stretch, or a player for that matter. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. I did pop in on the tail end. They're giving the Houston Rockets a lot of love, and as the resident Rocket fan, it does make me smile, but it makes me cringe because instead of an R next to our name for our logo, it needs to be a hospital sign. You know what I'm saying? This is a team that, in my opinion, has potential, but a lot of the key contributors to what we want to get accomplished this season are guys who have came back or battled through injury. You're looking at a DeMarcus Cousins, who Vinny alluded to, injury. You're looking at John Wall, missed 2 seasons, injury. Victor Oladipo, we all saw the injury. Coming back off, that hurt leg. Christian Wood, a guy who battled with injury for a little bit of his career, but a guy who's been slept on and, lost some time this year due to injury. Eric Gordon, another cat who, is playing starter-like minutes or, and is coming off the bench normally when, injury. So, I mean, I like my squad. I like what we're able to do. I said this yesterday, and I'm not going to go away from it. I'm a little concerned about, how much success that we are going to be able to have when you start dealing with, trying to play in the Western Conference. But with that being said, the trajectory of the team is made a turn, and I do like the trajectory of what we're going.
Okay, Eric, I'll come to you. Your thoughts on the Western Conference as it is constructed right now with the top 10 seeds. Do you think this remains how it is, or do you think somebody else sneaks in here? Your thoughts on how it's going down out west?
Yeah, I already answered this, Ty. I see, I see the Warriors in Houston, coming into play. They're really playing great right now. I think, like I said, the top four is definitely going to remain the same, flip-flopped a little bit. But when it comes down to it, you got Houston and Golden State really turning it on. So I think Memphis will fall out. They're a little too inexperienced. But other than that, I think the Western Conference is open for the taking. You know what I mean? I'm saying as what I'm seeing now, but you can't forget the Kings. You can't even forget the Thunder. Even the Pelicans are coming up. So it's going to be a battle till the end of the season. The final 7 and 8 spot for sure. So I'm looking forward to seeing it all play out. But the Golden State Warriors and Houston Rockets, I do believe they're going to be 7 and 8. They're going to come out with the final 2 playoff spots.
Okay, I'll come to you next, Royce. Your thoughts on what's been said thus far. Do you think this remains as it is? Do you think somebody will surprise us? I know we picked on Dallas at the start of the show. Do you think they get back into the hunt, at least to be one of these play-in games at the end of the season? Because it is getting hot. But I don't know if some of these teams remain there. I think Phoenix is a question mark to me. Memphis may be another question mark. But elaborate on how you feel on how the West can be won.
Thomas, I'm definitely going to elaborate. I was sitting here thinking the whole time, was like, pass me the ball. I just want to shoot a couple shots, and then I'll pass it back. Look, the first thing, man, when I'm looking at any standings, East or West, I'm never looking to see who's going to fall out of the particular position that they are currently in. I'm always looking to see who is going to fight until the end, which teams are committed to pursuing the playoffs, who's going to rise, right? And Sirius mentioned the team in terms of the Dallas Mavericks. We've been talking about them tonight and the fact that they have what it takes in terms of talent to rise. So all they need is help. But COVID is COVID, and it's impacting NBA rosters. So who's going to be the healthiest team down the bottom? Who's going to remain healthy at the top? So health, as always in every season, but definitely in particular seasons like we're dealing with right now, those teams must now fight not just their opponents, this crazy schedule of back-to-backs, right? You play a team that you're facing tonight, and you got to turn around and play them again tomorrow or potentially on Saturday. Like, that's just a different kind of regular season in itself, a whole nother beast that we're asking these guys to deal with. And I won't attempt to, prognosticate who's going to fall. I want to see who's going to rise. That's all I really got. Who's committed to getting into the playoffs for that 7-10 spot and fighting for the last 2 positions. And we'll see. Only time will tell. I look forward to watching it, Tymeless. Back to you.
Okay, Nas, from what you've heard thus far, do you agree with Royce? Do you agree with the panel? Do you think these teams remain the same? I do agree with them. Things can shake up, but it's a tough sledding situation if you're outside of the 10 trying to catch some of these teams who probably aren't going to give up too much ground. Your thoughts on these teams as constructed in the top 10 at least?
Yeah, I think everybody made good points. So I think everything was worth listening to. The thing I'll add, I'll take it to a different angle. When Royce kept saying commitment, take that to another level. What does upstairs want? So when you look at OKC, they're doing good right now. Are they doing too good? It has to be a question that you ask. Like, it becomes a point to where if they win too much, will they trade somebody? We saw rumors last week that Houston may shop Oladipo because it's in their best interest probably long-term to take advantage of the picks they have from Brooklyn and also their picks to do a full rebuild with Christian Wood and some of the other young pieces Jay Sean, some of these guys that they have, and kind of turn it into what OKC wants to do as well. So think about that for certain teams. What does the front office actually want? And if you're barely on the edge of the playoffs, are you going to kind of bow out and worry about assets and think about future development? So I think that's going to play a part in this, because that's going to kind of eliminate some teams from this discussion. And, again, the COVID situation that Sirius brought up. Memphis is doing what they're doing without Joe Val. Joe Val's been out. He's still not playing yet. And I think anybody who's watched the NBA for the last 2 years understands how good of a center that dude is, and how much of a difference he makes for them as even having a shot to be one of those 10. So, yeah, I don't think what we're looking at is going to hold up, but it's just because of so much unknown. The schedule, the corona situation, what front offices want to do, and this is a grind. Everybody's not going to make it. I'm sorry, but this is a grind. How you replace injuries and everything else is going to be up in play. So I think we're going to have a really good, entertaining second half of the season after the new fake All-Star break.
I must say, man, it's tough. Why'd you laugh for? Because it's coming to you. You got to, and it's coming to you. You talking about if it was in Texas, you got that All-Star game in your lap. So now they coming to Magic City with you. Just to talk about.
All I can do is laugh at that, Timeless. This is Atlanta, man. These people still in the hookah bars. The clubs aren't closing. This is Atlanta, man. It's a very dangerous city.
Right. That's why I brought it up. I like that's scary, because like a lot of people are going to want to go out in Atlanta. Like that's something to be concerned about. So I don't know if they play it safe and try to stay in the hotel and don't do nothing, and knowing that these guys are $1 million athletes with a whole bunch of money trying to run around Atlanta. That's a whole nother ball game. But I know that we could dig right back into that. But that's how I feel about that situation. That's why I threw it around at the top of the show, because I knew, with De'Aaron Fox and the statement that he made, he said basically it's stupid. And I looked at it, I was like, yo, he's right, because it's like, what if one of their players go out, got to sit out 2 weeks, or, however long the timeline may be, and it's like, whomever that superstar may be. You know what I'm saying? It could be a De'Aaron Fox. It could be a Kawhi. And that's something that we talked about. But, again, I'm looking at the Western Conference as it's constructed. I don't know. I really feel like there's about 2 or 3 teams that I feel like can play the up and down game until we get to the All-Star break and things of that nature. But it's just puzzling to see which team could break the mold from 11 down to get in there. This is how I look at Sacramento. Is this the last straw for Luke Walton? Can Luke Walton make this team look like a third-tier Golden State Warriors when he made that run? Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, he was in Golden State, and he had them at such and such and 4 before Kerr got back, before they went 73-9. It's like, yeah, he had the pieces there. All he had to do was orchestrate. That was it. It wasn't like too much of a coaching job. And then he went to L.A. and looked bad, and he's gotten to Sacramento, and he has pieces down there, but they look lost as an organization. But they're sitting in the thick of things. They're half a game out of the 10th spot behind Houston. And Houston's winning right now in their matchup up against the Memphis Grizzlies, looking like they're going to pull that off on the road. So this is up in the air. I just wanted to kind of puzzle you guys and throw that Jeopardy question out there, if you will. Okay. Another team that's actually shocking people by storm, especially in the Eastern Conference, and I don't know if they hang on to this, because a lot of people are high on the youngster in Colin Sexton. Cleveland make the playoffs this year. I want to throw that around and see how you guys feel about it. I'll come right back to you, Royce. Do you think the Cavs can stay relevant in the East and push toward a postseason bid with what they have? And if some of the pieces start to come back, if Kevin Love buys in and gets back on his roster, I want to see how you feel about his situation if he can get there for this Cavalier team.
Thomas, this is a really good question. This could be the first year that the Cavaliers are back in the playoffs with that 7-10 playoff spot. I think they could hang around the top 10 at 9 and 10, so to give themselves a fighting chance. Will they actually get in? I can't call it, and because I have no idea what the GM is thinking there. I believe it's Kobe Altman Is that how you say his name?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right name?
Yes, sir.
Right
yep.
location?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay, so you got Andre Drummond with a contract, right? He's in the final year of the deal. And you talk about teams who need him: Boston Celtics, Toronto Raptors. Those are just a couple of teams that come to mind who could use a player like Andre Drummond, whether that be at the trade deadline or in free agency. That being said, they also recently acquired Taurean Prince and Jared Allen. So there's some duplication, especially when you talk Jared Allen, Andre Drummond, not the same statistically night in and night out, but just they need minutes. But Jared Allen's been making a career at 26 minutes. Is there more potential and upside? He's still a very young player. Drummond's just entering his traditional NBA prime around 28, 29 years old. That being said, when you speak of Colin Sexton, the young bull is committed to getting buckets. He's shown some growth and improvement in his playmaking. Darius Garland has taken another step forward in his playmaking ability, but each guy has dealt with COVID and a little bit of an injury thus far in the season. A big blow to that franchise, in my opinion, when you're talking about prospects, losing Kevin Porter Jr. I wish that young man some success down there in Houston. Hopefully Don Lucas helps him get right. But when you look at the roster, Yeti Osman, Kevin Love is still there. I don't know what's left in his tank if he could get healthy and contribute. Tymeless, that Cleveland Cavalier team, here's the best thing that could happen for them should they remain in the top 10. They get in and get playoff experience for Sexton and Garland, ASAP, and then figure out what is the plan of direction under head coach J.B. Bickerstaff, right, and start preparing themselves for the Eastern Conference arms race to be a contending team. Do the Cavaliers want to continue to spend the type of money to get into the playoffs and be a contender, or are they looking to stockpile assets and be someone's trade partner, much like they were the third-team facilitator for Houston and Brooklyn to get what they needed to make moves? So make the playoffs this year, I wouldn't bet on them, but it'd be nice to see it, I guess.
Just to give Ohio a little kick, like after the postseason and they fell short in the postseason in the NFL. So it's like, let's see if they could turn it around with a youngster in Colin Sexton who has believed in himself, and for them to pull off big wins like quality back-to-back wins up against Brooklyn, they have something that they could put their cap on, or things of that nature. So with them sitting tied, it's a three-way tie from 6 through 8 with Charlotte, Cleveland, and Atlanta. Well, Atlanta. Yeah, I have it right. Charlotte, Cleveland, and Atlanta sitting at 10 and 12. The Knicks have one more loss at 10 and 13. They're in the talk, the Knicks. So this is anyone's show right now. But Cleveland actually doing different than what I expected. They're playing decent at this point. I want to throw this one around the kitchen and see how people feel here at the cafe. Sears, I'll come to you. Your thoughts on Cleveland? Do you think that they could stay in this hunt to get into the postseason, or do you think this thing will mix up and they'll fall down to probably 11 or lower?
Honestly, gentlemen, I think the Cavs are going to be in the mix. I mean, one of the things that I think it was Nas that said it yesterday, on the Cookout show, that this year more than ever there's so much parity in the association. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Obviously, you got the top teams and the respective conference, but after you get from the top three, so to speak, it's literally a crapshoot. You know what I'm saying? Like, at any given moment, we can see Cleveland back in the playoffs post LeBron. We can see, a young Hornets team with Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball doing some things, in the Eastern Conference. I think the only team that's, kind of mathematically out of it, so to speak, and that's just me being goofy, are the Washington Wizards, because you're not going to be able to play Brooklyn Nets. Your whole team, that seems to be the only team that can beat with any type of consistency. Everybody else, they get ran out the jump. So with that being said, Cleveland making the playoffs, I'm for it. I mean, I wouldn't expect them to go deep. I mean, that playing game will technically be a playoff. I'm not too sure how you know, the playoff checks and stuff work out and this, that, and the third. But my man said it perfectly. They need to get experience. Sexton is that dude. You know what I'm saying? He said he's committed to getting buckets and accepted that. Because Simon Sexton, you know, has proven when healthy, and that's a caveat with Colin Sexton. When healthy, he's gonna get buckets. I mean, I'm not really buying into Kevin Love coming back. I mean, he's just another big body that they need to throw in there and get minutes. I do expect Kevin Love to potentially be on the move. You know, we sat here in this very show a couple weeks ago and said potentially Brooklyn. You know, for K-Love. You know, you know, there's a ton of teams that need a big man, a stretch big man, and maybe Kevin Love fits the bill. I really wouldn't bring him back in this point, you know, and try to rock what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? You got Drummond there. You got, you know, you got Allen there. You got some pieces there. I think honestly that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be interesting to watch down the stretch. But yeah, I think they can and will make the playoffs.
Eric, do you agree or disagree if they'll fizzle out or stay in the hunt in the Eastern Conference being the Cleveland Cavaliers?
No, I agree with the panel here. You know, getting Jared Allen and Prince was a good addition for them in that blockbuster trade. So it's just a shame that the Porter Jr. situation couldn't work out because, like we all touched on, you know, he was probably, other than Sexton, one of their most talented players. So, but it's good to see Sexton emerge into his own here in the NBA as a budding star. Garland's, you know, good. Osman's coming up. So it'll be interesting to see if Kevin Love, you know, he's nursing his injury, you know, but he's starting to get back into things. He says there's no rush to get back, but if they could get him back, you know, he'll be a nice addition, you know, coming off the bench or starting but not playing, you know, 24 minutes. I don't see him playing more than like 24 minutes a game, just this state in his career. But I do like the Cavs' chances to get into the playoffs. You know, they had those two great games against the Brooklyn Nets. Those were very fun games to watch. You saw, you know, the Cavs do have potential. You know, anytime you can beat the Brooklyn Nets, you know, back-to-back like that, or any of the top teams, you know, that says a lot for your team. So they are in the hunt of things. I don't see them dropping out. You know, they're going to be in that. They're going to be battling all year long. So it's not going to be, you know, they're going to be an 8 seed and get eliminated first round, but it'll be good for these guys to get playoff experience. So I do like the Cavs' chances of getting in this year.
Breaking news situation. I don't know if you guys see this. It's a very bad ankle sprain. I'm hoping that's a sprain. They think that this could be potential break with Christian Wood of the Houston Rockets. It's looking horrible right now. It's a sprain. He's walking on it. Thank goodness. But it looks bad the way that he.
Man. My squad stay injured.
That is horrible.
Hey, he's a big man, and he's playing in low tops. He should not be playing in I thought he had some Kobe's on or something. Like
I see, and they are lows. He's not lying. He's walking around in low tops right now. That is bad. That is bad. And it's like, how do you break the mold? I think they feel comfortable playing in lighter shoes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if they feel like they can do it, they're going to go out there and do it. It's like, who's going to talk to these players or stars, if you will, out of what they feel comfortable in doing, man? Like that's
I get it. It makes sense, but let's make a lighter 3/4 or high top shoe, right? It can be done. I think it's possible you can offer more support and still have a lighter shoe.
Wow. I didn't mean to break up the groove, y'all. I'm just seeing this fresh right now while these guys were in discussion. Vinny, your thoughts?
Yeah, I never liked that. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead now. Say what you were saying. Say what you were saying. I don't want to break away from that. You can go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I never liked that either, man. The only dude I've seen get away with that is Dante Calabria at UNC. Dude never got hurt, played in lows his whole life. I don't know how he did that. But as far as Cleveland, the thing I would say is different. I think they're the team like we just talked about before. I think they ship Drummond because the deals are going to be too good. and they got young players, and they're going to want more assets. And I think they're going to buy out Kevin Love. Like, Kevin Love's going to walk to whatever contender he wants to, but I don't think anybody's going to trade for him because his contract is too big. So I think he'll be a buyout. But they want Jared Allen to get minutes, and they want these kids to play, but they also want these assets. So I think they pull the plug on it.
Can I spice that up since I'm throwing him around loosely in this conversation? How long does Kevin Love have left in this league? Is it 2 to 3? Is it 3 to 5? Like, how many years do you think he has left in that body? Is it fair for me to say that it's been failing him? But he's been injury riddled throughout his entirety of his career since Minnesota and being moved around the league. I can add that in with the Cavaliers situation. Now, I'll let you get right back at that before I start tossing that around. Did I lose? Nah. Did I lose?
I got him. I stepped in. I catch it. No turnover.
Okay.
I caught it. No, Thomas. He has the length of his contract. That's it. Right? I mean, what have we really seen from Kevin Love? He just continues to battle injuries. And he's not demonstrated or shown to anyone that he is the kind of NBA veteran you want on your bench or in your locker room for the purposes of leadership or team chemistry. I don't see him in the role of a Jared Dudley at this stage in his career. Neither do I see him performing or playing the role of a Chris Paul at this stage of his career. So in my honest assessment, if I were general manager of any NBA franchise, once Kevin Love's contract was, in an expiring, like, let it go. Once it expires, we move on as a team. And I think at some point the emails will go out and the league will move on from Kevin Love, the player. And if Kevin Love is desiring a coaching job or anything else, I'm certain somebody will probably entertain something other than on court, because he cannot stay on court and help your team win any games at this stage of his career. He's had a great career. It's no shade. He's going to walk out with a ring, right? So that's good enough. He did a good job. He overachieved, in my opinion, Tom.
Is he a Hall of Famer before I throw it to Vinny? Is he a Hall of Famer before I throw it to Vinny?
Not in my opinion, no. Not in my opinion. But
let me add hell no.
I remember watching him. I remember watching him at UCLA, and he was this kind of slow white guy who didn't really he was a shooter. It was a different kind of player, but you know what? He always had 20 rebounds. Okay, how does this guy always get 20 rebounds? And he was a shooter, and he had a good career. He did have a good career, and I think though he is done. I think that he can be a serviceable bench player and a role model to a lot of these kids that come into the league, and they need that. They need that so bad, because a lot of them have never had it, and they got people trying to pick at them and take from them, and they want something, and it's really like a lot of us, most of us, take it for granted what it is. Like, we think, that's great, they're in the NBA, what a great life. I can't imagine that. I wish that were me. But you know what? It's not all it's cracked up to be sometimes, because it can be hard not knowing who you can trust. And so back to Kevin Love. So having somebody like him in my locker room, if I was running a team, I would pay that for that. I would want him in there, somebody like that. And there's a lot of players that serve that role. Some better than others. Some teams care about it more than others, and that's why when we talk about roster construction and this team should trade for that player or a big guy or that, a lot of it, if we look at it, comes to philosophy, and some of these teams continually do the same thing. Like, Boston's always been kind of like a rough and tough, punch you in the mouth kind of team, and they're still like there. I think they're still there a little bit, kind of like taking the mark of their city, or there's a blue collar city, and so they're trying to change with the NBA, which is changing. I mean, these teams are scoring 140 points sometimes. It's a fast-paced analytics, offensively charged game, and continually evolving. And watching that happen, is exciting. And Kevin Love played a great. He had a great career. Is he a Hall of Famer? No, I don't think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But he had a great career. And best part about Kevin Love, I'm going to say this: his last name. All right, take it from me, Ty.
Wait, what did you just say?
The best part of Kevin Love is his last name.
Okay.
You got that?
I don't know. I got you. And it's a toss-up like with his Hall of... Well, I don't know if he's a Hall of Fame player or not. I mean, he has a streak that I think it'll be hard to catch that he was doing while he was with Minnesota, and he got himself a ring, too. I wonder if they give him that consideration. But for the time that he's missed, and it's due to injury, I can't, overlook the fact that he's always been out because of something happening. It is just tough. But, Royce, how many years does he have left after he signed that crazy deal that Cleveland gave him and I think Tristan in that same season? Is it, 2 years left?
I think it's 2, Timeless. You can fact check me, guys, on spottrack.com. I'm away. Not
no, it's okay. No,
look it up. I think it's 2 years.
For what it is. So that's what I'm saying. Like, does he have 2 to 3? I want to be fair to him because he's missing a whole bunch of time, and these guys are getting faster in mid-season. I don't know if they want to put him out there, but he'd be a valuable piece because he has the experience, So, like, that's what I'm concerned about. Sirius, I come to you. No, you went with this, actually. So I got everybody on this. If I'm not mistaken.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so Sirius, your thoughts on the Cleveland Cavaliers and also with Kevin Love, if he can actually respond with his body. How many years do you think is left in his tank?
All right, so I got the first part, but then you threw the Kevin Love thing. I didn't get to elaborate on that. And honestly, I really don't have to say much because, a lot of the guys who spoke before me, kind of share my sentiments on it. I mean, I do think that, Father Time is undefeated, and unfortunately there's been a lot of players that played in this game that succumbed to Father Time. I go back to Penny Hardaway and, Steve Smith and Grant Hill and, these guys who we grew up liking and loving and thinking they'll play for longer than they did. And unfortunately, like my man said, no shade to K Love. I mean, unfortunately, he can't help the club from the tub. And, maybe he walks into a NBA, coaching, tree somewhere or joins a TV set, I'm sure he has a wealth of knowledge and, can do X's and O's better than K-Perk. But I just don't think he's going to be the same again. And he has to be real with himself. You know what I'm saying? If he was out there, not giving, dropping buckets, but not, giving what he once was, that's one thing. But this man can barely lace up his shoes and put his uniform on to give his team something. You know what I'm saying? So I think he has to be real with himself and, just hang him up and ride into the sunset and, do something else with the game you love. I mean, people say the game passed you by. The game doesn't pass you by, man. You just got to change your approach to the game. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these coaches that are in the league used to play. A lot of these GMs and these, sportscaster people like ourselves, we used to play. The game doesn't pass you by. You got to switch your focus, man. So, best of luck, K-Love. Is he a Hall of Famer? I don't think so.
And to jump in real quick there, the game does evolve and change, and it changes fast, and that's why some of these coaches, kind of old school coaches, will realize that maybe my time has passed. Maybe I'm not really evolving with the game, and that's why a lot of these really young guys, Stevens and Spoelstra, and others are Silas now and are just taking the lead. Because the game is changing so fast, it's hard to keep up. It's hard for I mean, I know everybody here I think loves Doc Rivers. I think he's great too. But some of these older coaches, they have a tough time, I think, because it's a. So think of it like this: it's like a philosophy that's been embedded in their minds for so long on how to run a team and how to win, and now it's just it works still, but it's just not the same anymore because the game has changed. And think of like Phil Jackson is a good example when he went to the Knicks, and it wasn't there anymore. It's like, what happened? But the game changed. But you know what? He couldn't change because he got so stuck in his ways, and he knew what he knew. He's a champion, 6-time champion. What are you going to say to Phil Jackson? So that happens pretty often. That's why I think the league is a little bit harder for some of these older guys. That's what I just want to throw that in real quick.
So everybody's basically broken down the Cleveland Cavaliers situation and also Kevin Love also, right? Or Eric, did I get you?
Yeah, I broke down the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Cavs, but not the Love. But I concur with the rest of the panel, man. You know, great career. Put together some really good seasons in Minnesota. Obviously won the championship in 2016 with Cleveland, but, you know, he has not been able to remain healthy. This guy's been injury-prone his whole career, so I think he finishes out that contract in Cleveland, and then it's time for him to move on and, you know, to his next life past basketball. So.
Okay, so everybody's finished with this. I'm going to go to the bottom of the barrel of the league. And I don't like the fact that I'm picking on organizations, but I have to, right? I have to. So whomever you feel comfortable with saying, I don't want to, like, leave you handcuffed to what I'm going to throw out. You can pick other, right? Who needs to leave their team the most, right? Even if it's a hot team right now playing better than what we expected, or just one of these bottom-of-the-barrel teams. I'm going to throw some names out. If you have another player that you think could make a move and be better somewhere else or help contribute or just help them break free of the chain of them being a good player in a bad organization. So I have the likes of Julius Randle. He's playing well with the Knicks, even though I feel like the Knicks can have playoff potential. Is this something that they're going to hang on to him or not? I also have Zach LaVine, the way that he's been playing for the Bulls. He's been helping them out being a trigger man, but I don't think that he's going to help the Bulls get to at least the top 10 or top 8 to be playoff relevant in this season or seasons to come. But if Billy Donovan could do what he did in OKC, it'd be interesting to see if he could make Zach that guy. Vukovic down in Orlando, that's my pick. I'm not going to lie. I'd rather see Nikolai somewhere else doing something. He's that type of guy that could get you 20 and 20, 30 and 20. Not to say that he'll do that in another organization, but it's like this guy's going all out for the Orlando Magic, and they can't really get out of their way. I mean, they made the playoffs a couple times while he's been there, but it's not like they're going to shake the East up. I really feel like he could probably do work somewhere else, but that's one of my picks. Bradley Beal is one of the biggest notable guys that I could think of right now, too, even though I know a lot of people may go with Bradley Beal. Derrick Rose has been a sight situation in Detroit if they could get him to a team that needs a point guard, like both of the teams in L.A., or I don't know how people feel about Blake Griffin. I'm, like, done with Blake, but that's one of the names that I could throw in there also. De'Aaron Fox, even though I feel like the Kings are going to end up throwing him the bank and the city of Sacramento. A good plethora of pieces out of New Orleans with B.I. and Zion, but I think they're going to keep that youth there, especially with the thought that I'm trying to move Redick and Lonzo Ball as well, so that's something to watch also. And, of course, like my 1B would be Karl Anthony Towns. Like Cat, like I feel like Minnesota's going to give him the whole state, and they can't do anything. They're stuck with Ryan Saunders right now. There's no changes with the coaching staff. The players aren't getting along. Like you've seen D'Angelo Russell and Cat get into a little, not even a scuffle, but like have a misunderstanding on the sideline a week or two ago. So this is going on with some players that probably can make change throughout the league. This is going to probably carry us out of the show. I want to see how you guys feel about this going across the board. I'll come to you first on this one, Naj. Your thoughts on which player may potentially go somewhere and set fire somewhere or just needs to be free of the original organization that they're with? Did I lose Naj again? Naj, are you there? Okay,
I think he had to step away. I think he said something in the control room where he had to take a step away.
Okay, I'll come to you, Royce. Your thoughts on this? Pick anywhere if you like, or you can go with some of the players that I have mentioned.
Well, here's the thing. I think we may have, you might have heard me talk about this a few weeks ago, and so I'll go to Karl Anthony Towns, and it's mostly, it's more about a fresh start for him. My heart goes out to him as a fan of the game, and the things that he's been through, and different set of circumstances, but it's starting to remind me of Kevin Garnett giving his all to that organization. And that organization, in a sense, failing the talent in terms of being able to build around said talent and get a coach in there that could stabilize the organization. And so, in my opinion, overall, the organization is unstable. Karl Towns has experienced one hell of a year, if I can say that, in terms of the health situation, losing I think it was like 7 or 8 family members due to COVID in 2020 alone. So much pressure on him to be the rock for his family members, provide for them, and get all the information. And I get those basketball minds and fans who say, well, when he asked for D'Angelo Russell, you shouldn't. Why would he leave? He can't leave, and people talk about the talent that he is. Like, why would you give that up? Well, just take a look at the roster and how it's constructed. This is what this has been the theme of the night. It's not built around him. That's why they went out and got D'Angelo Russell, because there's nothing there. I think young Ryan Saunders, the son of Flip Saunders, is a little in over his head. I watched multiple interviews and how he fielded those interviews and answered those questions. And again, my heart was going out to the guy, because I just felt like, man, he's sinking. And when you look at this team on the basketball court, it would appear no one's listening to what the coach is saying, and they're doing what they want when they're out on the floor. So I would move Karl Anthony Towns if you could, secure a bag and decide to build around the talent of the number 1 overall pick this season, Anthony Edwards, but that situation is just really messy. Maybe the first thing to do is to sell the organization and then maybe reassess who is the best person to negotiate a deal in trading Karl Anthony Towns, if that were the case or something that was going to happen. But that would be my guy. It's based on a humanitarian effort, man. I would just love to see him get a reset to it and restart and refresh his career.
And I don't like his story, man. Like his story breaks me up so bad. And then he actually had to battle with the COVID and what he said to the family, and like he told his niece something. I'm not gonna leave you like Grandma did, and all of that. It's like, help Cat, man. Help Cat get out of there, man. Please, like it to me, I'm tossed up between him or Vukovic. Like, one of them bigs got to go somewhere and make a difference elsewhere. Also, give me a closeout also, Royce, because we are heading toward the end also. So give me a closeout as well.
Well, I just want to say thank you, for having me on the show. I appreciate, being able to come in and kick it with everybody here at Sports City as we talk a little NBA hoops. It's always a great time. It was an awesome job. Everybody did a wonderful job giving their views and opinions, their thoughts and takes. Thank you, guys.
No doubt. Okay, so Nas is in here. I'll come to you, Vinny. Give me your thoughts on which player you think around the league can go somewhere and get a fresh start, or, from the players that I may have mentioned, somebody that you may think of. You don't have to be handcuffed to it, who you may think, and also a closeout as well.
I would like to see Bradley Beal. I would like to see him kind of get a new shake somewhere. I know we talked about last week about possibly LA, and maybe even that happens. I don't know for sure, but I'll say that I like him. I think he's a good player, and he's always kind of taken second fiddle, and I don't know why, because he's actually really good, and he's I think he was should have taken second fiddle even when John Wall was there before he left. And so my player would be would be Bradley Beal. And yeah, closing out, thank you to everybody. I am so grateful to discuss hoops and strategies and what's going on with everybody on the panel and I think that everybody did do a great job, and it's very very grateful, happy to be part of it. Thank you, and I'll see y'all next week.
All right. Sirius, your thoughts on a player that can go somewhere else and do damage elsewhere, or do you have another name that you can throw in the pot and also a closeout as well?
Man, here's the thing. Like, obviously, Bradley Beal is being thrown out there, and, your guy Tymeless, but I honestly believe that a player that is on his current roster needs to man up and play better for his team to get where they ultimately want to go. So I'm going to flip this question on its ear just for the sake of being different, because, again, the list that you laid out, really needs no more endorsement. We beat that to death. And, again, it's going to pain me to say this because, again, I've been on this team, and I hate this team. But it's the Dallas Mavericks and Porzingis. That is the name that keeps coming to me. This is a guy who is playing like, a pony. And, again, this is the third time in as many shows as I've said that reference. But if the Dallas Mavericks are going to become playoff relevant in the Western Conference, it's going to take both Luka and Porzingis to get it done. It really is. So I don't think Porzingis is going to go anywhere, which was your original question. I do think that a couple of the players that you mentioned, Tymeless, may end up finding, new homes and new locations, rightfully so. But, I'm dealing with the here and now. And right now, the Dallas Mavericks have a potential to get themselves back right if Porzingis starts playing winning basketball. And I think that's the guy that sits at the top of the list for me that needs to step his game up. As far as closing out of him, man, again, it's your boy Sirius repping that 412 and the 703, man. It's such a pleasure to be here with everybody talking ball. Roy's, Nas, Vinny in the building, Thomas, and, I hate your guts like always. Barry, I know you back in the corner doing some things, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to all those friends and family members that, are streaming us and giving us so much love. The blessings we got coming our way from being syndicated and things of that nature. The blogs. I mean, I'm very, very thankful and appreciative of the opportunities and the blessings that we are awarded, just by talking sports and doing what we love. Definitely check us out. I believe the next show will probably be Sunday. Obviously, it's a big day. A big day. I mean, Super Bowl picks, and, I'm sure we'll be breaking down that game from every angle imaginable. But it's fun, man. This is the day that we all, as sports fans are waiting for. So it should be fun, man. But definitely thanks for checking us out, man. It's your boy Sirius, man. God willing, catch you guys next time.
You'll see, Eric. You see what I go through. He didn't even shout you out, so don't worry. He says he hates me. He didn't even shout you out, so I shout you out for him. Don't worry about it. I got you. Wait, slow down. You got your whole rant and everything out. I forgot my brother out there in Colorado, man. You can't do that, man. Enough is enough. See, this is what people be. Life is harsh huggy. Barry hits you with the line I always hit you with. But anywho, I got Nas back. Nas, your thoughts on a player that can make a difference elsewhere? Do you agree with Sirius? Is it Porzingis leaving Dallas also?
I don't know, man. That's an interesting question. What do you get for Porzingis? Do you get what he's supposedly worth if you do try to trade him? I don't know. I think they might have to play out the string there, because I don't know if you get really good offers for him. So that'll be a tough one. I heard somebody mention Brad Beal. Of course, Brad Beal, anybody would want him. It looks like the Wizards still are determined not to move him and want to keep him there. So that part is going to be interesting. But I think it's who we discussed earlier. I think it's Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond has limitations. No, he's not a shooter. No, he's not going to stretch the floor for you. But he is exactly who he says he is. He's going to be one of the best rebounders. He's going to be physical. He's become a much better passer than he was a few years ago, where he's actually now reading double teams well. And the teams that can just add that piece that need it, I think he'll fit well. So I'll stick with my boy Drummond as far as being a guy you should bring in. But, of course, it's a rental. You're not bringing him in and signing him up for another max. Those days are gone.
Okay,
but,
also give me
everybody who called tonight, man. Good job. It was real good talking ball with y'all. My bad, I had to break out for a minute, but, man, enjoyed the conversation. I was still listening.
No doubt. Hey, life calls, man. At the end of the day, man, it's crazier stuff going on in the world, and we got you. End of the day, we going to cook regardless. Last but not least, E, you already know what to do. Give me your thoughts on a player that can go somewhere else and be some big piece on another organization if you have a different name than what I mentioned, and also a closeout as we shut the doors here at the cafe.
I like Karl Anthony Towns. We were talking about the Boston Celtics earlier. I think Danny Ainge needs to do everything in his power to try to make a trade like that happen. Here's a guy that can rebound for you, play defense. He's a 22.7 career, player with 12 rebounds to go with that. And that would give him a chance to compete. It's sad to see what he's going through over there in Minnesota. And for him to go to a team like the Boston Celtics would be huge, and that would get them over the hump. So, but with that, it's been a pleasure as always. Great show tonight, guys. Thank you for everybody that's listening to us out there. Power 103 Radio, SportsCityChefs.com. Check us out. Check out all the blogs, the merch, and we'll see you guys this Sunday. Everybody have a blessed night.
I love it when I get the help. I need help. That's what I'm talking about, man. I put this topic out here personally because I feel like the Thunder could get a big right now, and it's between two of them. I'm being selfish closing the show out. I think they can use either Vukovic or Cat. We got 34,000 picks, and we're going to sit on them and wait for people to develop. No, go get one of these guys, offer them 2 picks. I don't care if it's Orlando or Minnesota. Hey, here go 2 picks. Let me get Cat. Or here go 2 picks. Let me get Vukovic and bring that big man down to Oklahoma City. I feel like they can help and add. I don't think this pushes us to the finals, but just add while they still have usage in their body, while we could be another piece away, while we could do this now instead of waiting 6, 7, 10 years down the road. Even though I'm bad with patience. I want to see this happen like soon. You know what I'm saying? like hopefully. But like that's why I say Vukovic, because he's been doing a lot of work in Orlando, and it all falls short to at least first round. I don't ever think the Magic are going to get out the second round. They have capability of winning games in series if they can get into a postseason run, just like they did against Toronto, where they won the first game and got swept out. It's like this is a bad scenario for a team like Orlando. And just like Royce hit on, and I talk to Royce a lot, I am tuned into Minnesota sports because, as you guys know, I'm a Twins fan, so it's like I get all of the news reference. You don't know every single night after every single game the Wolves play, and watching Ryan Saunders answer questions, it looks so bad. Like I want somebody like a publicist to give him something to read off of, or like somebody to talk for him, a lawyer, like somebody come and help Ryan Saunders because he needs to get out of there. Just like Roy said, he is over his head on what he has there right now, and it's getting worse and worse night by night. It's almost they're the short bet on a night-by-night basis, even though they'll probably pull out a shock you value game here or there. But the Timberwolves are playing poorly, and they have to save at least Cat to get out of there. And this guy's an all-star, a potential legend if he could go somewhere else, if he can provide those services to a team that's caliber ready. Like Eric said, Power103Radio.com. Check us out there. We got shows lined up there as well. We got new shows coming into the kitchen with this upcoming week. The Master Chef should be back in order. We'll be discussing that seeing where we'll land this situation. We also have a college basketball show that'll be taking place next Sunday also. Sports City, we are back in effect. You already know how this go down, though. On that note, tell a friend. Now, this is Chefs again. And if they don't know, now they know.
Sports City, Chefs. Sports City, Chefs. Sports City, Chefs. Sports City, Chefs. Kaboom! Sports City Chefs is in the room, cooking up hot topics to put up on your spoon. They well in tune, bloom like a flower in June. Superman verse MF Doom, the clouds loom. So tell a friend it's the Sports City Chefs again. Pay attention, tune in, we on the set again. Sports City, Chefs. Sports City, Chefs. Yeah. Cap. Taj. Woo! Connecticut.